Proverbs 18:21 says this, the instruments of both life and death are contained within the power of the tongue. You guys, speak life, speak life. When my wife met me and got to know me and we climbed in love. I don't know if you fell in love. We climbed in love. Because I more fell in love. She had to climb in love to get past the junk that I brought into the marriage from being raised in a non-Christian home. But she said to me, I will marry you if you will work on one thing. And I said, what is that, baby? She said, your mouth. I said, you don't like my kisses? She said, you have no idea what I'm saying. It's the way you talk. You talk like your parents talk. You talk like your brothers talk. You're so sarcastic. You're always thinking you're funny when you're cutting people down. I grew up in that atmosphere, and that's the way I was. I was the most sarcastic guy you ever met. And so now that I've got Christ in my heart, I hear sarcasm everywhere I go. I see families who are trying to build a family on sarcastic communication. You can't do it, gang. Give it up. You can't do it. And she said, I want you to write down, I know it's the way you were raised. I want you to write down everything you can remember negative that your parents would say to you on a continuous basis. The things that you remember hearing. Isn't it interesting that was, I was 20 years old, that was 47 years ago, and I still remember all the stuff they said. Can any of you remember the nasty thing somebody said to you 10 years ago? It's amazing how that sticks. You'll hear one bad thing and 99 other things you'll forget that are good. But that one bad thing sticks. And the enemy knows that, and if he can control your mouth or get you to say something off guard and lift the gate to your mouth. Anyway, I started writing things down. I'm going to give you some of them now. I wrote down on a column that I called negative shoves, words that discourage. Think about the word discourage. Discourage. Things that are against courage, that kill courage in your life. And these are the ones I wrote down. And then in another column I wrote positive pushes, because my wife said, we are going to do none of the negative shoves. We're going to change every negative thing you were raised on, and we're going to turn them into positive things. And we're going to see what happens if we raise a family for Jesus with positive pushes. So here they are real quickly. I give up on you, I heard all the time. I believe in you, we said to our kids. You can't do anything right, I heard. Everybody makes mistakes, our kids heard. You are so stupid. You are so clumsy. Every day of my life that I remember my father talking to me, he had one name for me. He called me double ugly. I've said that before in this church. It's stuck. He called me double ugly so many times, and my other brothers laughed about it, and everybody called me double ugly, that you get to believe you're the ugliest person in the world. It just happens to you. I heard so much of that. My wife said, none of that in our family. We're going to say to our kids, you are my hero. So I've been saying to my son and my 3 daughters and now my grandkids from conception, just about then, you are my hero. I think it's right to talk to a baby in the womb. You are my hero. I heard you'll never learn. My kids heard I'm still learning myself from their parents. I heard it's always your fault. My kids heard, stop beating yourself up, man. Let it go. Let me help you carry this. I heard it's always your fault. I heard big boys don't cry. Our kids heard I love your tender heart. I heard you are no good, you never will be. My kids heard you are worth the death of Jesus Christ. I know you've heard me say that to you when I was preaching at church. That's where I got it from. That's what we said to our kids. I heard you're a hopeless case. My children heard you are created in God's image, and on and on and on. Every word you speak, beloved, is a chance to change what is bad into something good. That's why I call you beloved. I started doing that years ago when I memorized Ephesians 4:29. God willing, I'll give that to you at the end of this service, at the end of this message. But when I put Ephesians 4:29 into my heart, I started calling people beloved because that's what God calls them. The right and wrong words stay with us for the rest of our lives, Thomas Edison said. The children at his school heard the teacher call young Thomas Edison, the teacher called him addle-brained, which means you're crazy, you're wacky, you're nuts. Back in the days that Edison was going to school as a little boy, to be addled meant that you're crazy. And so she called him addle-brained. So all the kids in class would say, addle-brained, addle-brained. And it hurt him so much, he went home to his mom and told her, and she took that little Thomas Alva Edison out of that public school at that time, and she put him in their house, and she homeschooled him. And she said, read his biography sometime. She said, I made it a purpose every day to look into my boy's eyes and say, you are my little genius. Isn't that cool? It took, didn't it? It took, didn't it? She broke the curse, didn't she? And so can we. She renamed her son. God does the exact same thing to us.